Oh, see if anybody shows up this morning. Yesterday, had my first Saturday staining. Hardly had anybody show up. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Finishing Work. Just melting off the ends of this 550 cord, and then I'll get started. Also, just a heads up, it is raining and storming pretty heavy outside here, so if I suddenly disappear, probably means we lost power. We got a bunch of Yawara to cord up, a bunch of vampire stakes and hickory daggers we're gonna cord the handles on this morning. Sorry, I know this beginning part's not super exciting. Just watching me melt off the ends of 550 cord. Super fun stuff. If you're new here, I do this every Sunday. You are welcome to drop questions in the chat if you've got them. Ow. Try not to burn myself with hot plastic. That's always fun. Oh man, it's early. I figure that most of the people who show up for these Sunday lives are either up way too early or way too late. One of those two. That's a little too long. Cut that off. There we go. All right. Hey, morning, Jay. All right, I think that's all of them. Oh, man, I need to clean my glasses. Can't see. All right, let's cord up the Yawara. I reopened the shop like just last week, last weekend before last, and I had a ton of orders come in for big, like large orders for some reason. One guy bought almost all of my oak Yawara, so I had to make more of them because I was running low. I only got like a few left in there, and these are my less expensive ones. These oak Yawara. These are used in karate and also in some Filipino martial arts. It's a self-defense tool. You use the protruding ends as an extension of your hand. Unfortunately, one of them, I think this one, I'm probably gonna auction this one off because I had a little slip, as you can see, with the drill. And the holes are not even close to being symmetrical, so probably just auction that one off on the eBay shop. Speaking of which, to let everybody know, the main shop, my Shopify store, the warriorwoodenprops.com, we're having an issue with it. For some reason, I'm locked out of it, and trying to talk with Shopify support to figure it out. They can't seem to figure out why I'm locked out of it, because my password's correct and all that stuff. And they switched to this authenticator app thing to get in, and the authenticator app is not sending me codes, so they can't seem to figure out why that's happening. So the main shop for right now, luckily before that happened, I turned all my items off while I was in Texas. So luckily there aren't any items up for sale on the shop right now, but it does kind of suck that I can't access my main store. And of course, I highly doubt Shopify is going to reimburse me for that, but hopefully they figure out why I'm locked out of the shop so I can get the shop back open. Especially before spooky season gets here, because I shouldn't even say that, because it seems like spooky season's already here. Like, I normally don't start selling like vampire steaks and Halloween related stuff until like September 1st. However, this year, that does not seem to be the case. Seems like I'm selling a lot more steaks early on. It's August and I'm already selling like the hickory daggers and oak daggers and vampire steaks. There you go. But if you're just joining us, this is the Sunday Finishing Work Live at Warrior Wooden Props. If you got any questions, excuse me, if you got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and I will gladly answer them. I just do this mostly because I get kind of bored on Sunday mornings, because I'm in here in silence, just, you know, well, sometimes I play music, but music can only work for so long. And helps me be less bored, and also gives me a chance to show off my fun stuff that I make every weekend. Oh, all right, I've got this natural wood vampire steak. I think I'm just gonna give it a black jute cord handle. Huh? Move that over here to this side. There we go. That's gonna work better. Huh? Yeah, that's high enough. All right. I can get this tightened down. Tighten down. There we go. Whew. Man, tell you what though, I've been gone for like 6 weeks and haven't really done anything on YouTube or social media aside from just posting stuff I was doing while I was in Texas, and I think I lost some followers, or at least people forgot that I exist. Like, none of my regular people have been showing up for the lives this weekend, except for you, Jay. Thanks for that. I don't know, maybe they'll show up here in a little bit. Had a lot of fun though. I went to Tampa Comic Con last weekend. That's why I wasn't doing shop videos last weekend. We had a pretty good turnout. It's funny though, because like every year it seems like I've got more people who are coming back to see me again, which is always fun. Uh, I got I had like 6 panels this year, which I normally only do like 3 or 4. But I did one on mythology and its effect on culture. That one was interesting. That was my first one, and then I did one on legendary heroes, and I somehow got put. I somehow got put in a panel called "Swipe Right for Monsters." That one was interesting. That was about spicy, basically like smut literature that involves monsters, and got some really interesting questions on that one. Someone asked me what my favorite monster appendage was, which, yeah, that was weird. And honestly, I had never really thought about it. And I got asked if a werewolf has a dog penis or a human penis, which, again, didn't really have an answer for that one. I don't really have anything in the lore. I would assume when it's in werewolf form, it has a dog penis, right? I guess. I don't know. I got asked weird stuff at that convention. They asked me all kinds of weird questions. I was in there because they had me listed as a monster expert, and I'm like, I may be a monster expert, but I don't know a lot about like the reproductive organs or mating habits of monsters. Like that's not usually stuff they put in the lore. So yeah, that was a fun one. And then I did so I had my supernatural creatures panel that night, and then uh, I had another one. It was a lot of fun. It was on 30 years of bad sci-fi, which was talking about bad sci-fi movies from 1995 onward. It was a lot of fun. We talked about like space truckers, and you know what we also realized is Dennis Hopper, for some reason, like he shows up in a lot of bad movies. Like for like the last like 30 some odd years, Dennis Hopper, which I find hilarious because he's considered like an A-list actor, but man, he has shown up in some stinkers. He really likes bad sci-fi movies. It seems like because he ends up in a lot of them. We even were talking about the Super Mario Brothers live action movie, which oddly enough also has Dennis Hopper in it. I don't know. I think maybe. I mean, but I guess the upside to doing if you're an A-list actor doing like B-rate sci-fi, it's not like you have to work hard. You can kind of phone it in and still get a paycheck. So maybe that's why he does it. I don't know. Here we go. That one's done. Set this off to the side. And then I got a couple of these natural wood ones. This wood, I honestly don't know what wood it is. This was recovered from a tree that came down in I think it was Hurricane Helene or Milton. I can't remember which one. But the bark's pretty cool, so I just kind of leave the bark on. I use my wood burning kit to burn across into the stake end. I got another one here that's kind of the same. I mean, Lon Chaney was like a freaking legend when it came to like monster movies back in the day. Like that guy, he was in everything. Yeah, I know. Lon Chaney Wolfman is definitely different from the newer werewolves, where like they are more wolf-like than just a human with hair and fangs. So yeah, it would probably depend on what kind of werewolf we're talking about. Monster Squad werewolf had nards though, so we can probably assume, right, that he definitely has genitalia. for his wolf dork, as they call it in Monster Squad. That's probably one of my favorite moments. I think it's everyone's favorite moment, honestly, in the Monster Squad. It's like, kick him in the nards. What? Kick him in the nards. He doesn't have nards. Do it. He kicks him in the nards. He's like, Wolfman's got nards. And I think, obviously everyone loves that scene because, even the documentary that they made on the Monster Squad movie, its title is literally Wolfman's Got Nards, which is, I think, probably one of the best moments in that film. Stars my boy Horace. Gets called Fat Kid through most of the movie, but Horace, honestly, my favorite character in the Monster Squad. Love that guy. Mostly because I was a chubby, awkward kid around the time Monster Squad came out, and watching this kid Horace, also a chubby, awkward kid, just rise to the occasion, because I don't think people realize that Horace, of all the guys in the Monster Squad, Horace has the highest body count in that movie. Horace, he kicks Wolfman in the nards. He burns Dracula's face with a pizza with garlic. He shoots, he kills the creature of the Black Lagoon with a shotgun. Aside from Horace, the only one who's got a higher body count, or even close to a higher body count, is Rudy. And Rudy was like the oldest. He was the badass of the group. Out there with a compound bow, just shooting vampires in the street. But, Rudy, he shot like 3 vampires and took out the Wolfman. But yeah, Rudy and Horace, those guys did all the grunt work for that team. I'm just saying. Most of them were pretty worthless when it came to the actual monster killing part, aside from Rudy and Horace. I would love to see, I don't know, like there's a part of me that thinks they should make like a movie about, or like make a sequel where it's the Monster Squad but they're all grown up, Rudy's got PTSD from all the vampire killing stuff, and I don't know. I think the kid that played Horace might not be alive anymore, though. I think he had some bad stuff happen to him, if I remember correctly. I honestly can't remember if the kid that played Horace is alive or not. You got Rudy, like the little kid that reads all the horror comics. It'd be hilarious. Like Rudy's he's a horror comic book writer. And artist. I think that would be cool. Phoebe, the little girl, she's a school teacher. I think it would be cool. I don't know. It depends on how they did it. It would need to be the original cast members, though, as much as possible, I think. I think Andre Gower, you definitely have to get him. It'd be funny if he was a cop. That would be awesome. Since his dad was a cop, I think that would make sense. Or something similar to that. There's one scene in the movie that I love where they're going up to like the scary house where Dracula and the monsters are, and he goes, you guys are forgetting, my dad's a cop. Anybody messing with us, he kicks their ass. I've obviously seen that movie way too many times since I can quote it by memory. I think that's good. I'll go one or two more times. Just want to make sure it's enough of it. You can get a good grip. Yeah. Not that these are going to be used on actual vampires, but I like the idea that my steaks are somehow still functional. There we go. I fray up the ends so the knot stays in place. Plus it just looks a little better. There we go. All right, actually, well, I'll do one more and then I gotta take some of this. Oh wait, actually, hang on one sec, guys. I just remembered I've got a bokin back there I gotta wipe down. I gave it a tung oil application when I came in this morning. It's the second one. I gotta buff it out. But before I do that, let me take this stuff to the finished room, to the inventory room, and I'll be right back. Alright, let's do some buffing. Let's buff some wood. Everybody likes to buff wood, right? It's so funny. Half the time when I'm making videos about stuff, I end up saying things that are accidentally like sexual innuendo. Don't mean to. Oh my god. This is one of my straight edge Boken. They like all the Boken and wasters in my shop are guaranteed. If you buy one and it breaks when it shouldn't, within like the first year you own it, I will replace it free of charge. You don't have to return it. You just get a new Boken to replace it because they should not break. I'm very careful about the wood that I select to make them. They may not be pretty, but man, they can take a beating. And they are guaranteed. I am careful about the blanks that I select. I pay attention to wood grain placement. I make sure that that they get a double tung oil finish. They get a tip immersion so that they're less likely to crack at the tip. You know, they should not be breaking. I got one more of these. I think I'll go ahead and just stick with the black. Seems like black, big surprise, black handle wraps seem to be more popular when it comes to vampire steaks. I don't think anyone's shocked by that information. Because you would think red, but red, honestly, I've done a few steaks with red handles and they don't really sell that well. Next weekend, I'm going to make some cross and steak combos. I need to go back to Lowe's because I found out Lowe's right now, though, at least my local one, it's selling poplar blanks for like $3, like 6 foot long poplar blanks for like $3, and I need to go buy a whole bunch of those. Normally closer to like 10, so they're on clearance for some reason. I need to go over there and buy a bunch more while they're on sale, because I have two very popular steak designs that I make out of poplar, and actually I have three popular steak designs that I make out of poplar, and if I can get it for cheaper, that's always good, because most people don't realize, like, my profit margins on this shop are very, very slim. Very slim. There are a lot of items I sell that I either take a small loss on, or I make like a little bit of profit on them. You know, once I take into consideration materials, sandpaper, tools, my shop rent, electricity for the shop, all that stuff, shipping. Because I don't charge shipping, I just roll it into the price of the product, because people don't like paying for shipping for some reason. They'd rather pay more for a product without shipping than they would pay less for a product with shipping combined. So I don't really understand that, but that's all right. If that's what people want, that's what I'll let them do. But so anytime something I make stuff out of, if I see it on sale, I try to buy as much of it as I can. One problem I have is there are these maple blanks that I've used for the last 3 years or so. I found a really good vendor that had these maple blanks that they normally sell them to make like tool handles and stuff. So I bought like 24 of them because it was way less expensive. I bought like 24 of them maybe like 3 years ago, and I only have like 2 left. And the vendor that I bought them from no longer has them. They don't have them in stock anymore. So that's what I make my Joe stabs out of, and a few other things. And I'm like, crap, probably not going to be able to make those anymore, or I'm going to have to make them out of a different wood, because I can't get the blanks anymore. But if anybody's got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. This is Warrior Wood and Props Sunday Finishing Work Live. Spooky season's coming, so I've got a lot of vampire stakes and wooden daggers that people use for Halloween vampire hunter costumes, and we're just gonna cord wrap the handles on these this morning. I got 3 more to do this morning. Thank you for the likes, everybody. I got 3 more. I got the hickory daggers are coming next. These are the cool ones. These are one of my favorites to make, because they just look cool as shit. Also, sorry for the cursing. I'm a former Marine, trust me. I definitely curse less than I used to. Man, I know you guys probably can't hear it, but it is storming like crazy outside. Hopefully, we don't lose power. I think it was day before yesterday, we had a pretty bad storm over here, and shop lost power for about 15 minutes. Yeah, I'd say that's enough. All right. Try not to stake myself while I do this. That's always good. Anytime you're working with vampire stakes, rule number 1 is don't stake yourself. That's always a good idea. Don't drive the stake through your own heart. That's never a good idea. There we go. Come on, you. There we go. And that one is done. These are, honestly, these are probably the cheapest natural wood ones that I sell in the shop. These I tend to just, I sell them for pretty cheap because they're super easy to make. I don't have to sand them very much. I don't tongue oil them. All I do is burn across into them, you know, shape them out, burn across into them, put a handle on. So if you need a cost-effective vampire stake, these style at the Warrior Wood and Prop Shop on eBay, these next to the poplar stakes that I make, the basic poplar stakes, these are pretty inexpensive. All right, let's see. Now we're moving to the hickory daggers. These I have, excuse me, I have a few different styles of these that I do. I do them out of oak and I do them out of hickory. These are hickory. These are a newer style I've started doing where I don't normally stain them, but I stain these, and I don't know, it's hard to see, but I distress them, kind of cut them up to make them look like, you know, they've been nicked up in battle, and I put a handle wrap on them. By the way, there are some shops out there that I've seen, and I'm not quite sure what to do about it, but you know, I don't really check to see what people are doing with my steaks when I sell them to them, and I've recently learned that there are a few shops, specifically, most of them, a couple on Etsy, but mostly on eBay, that they're buying my steaks and just giving them a little heavier of a distressing, and then they're turning around and saying that they're antique vampire steaks, and they're trying to sell them at antique prices. You know, that some, you know, like some of them are saying they're like 18th century, 17th century steaks. I'm like, no, you bought that from me and I made it last year. You know, like, be careful about that, especially on eBay. A lot of those so-called antique vampire hunter kits and steaks, they are not antiques. What they do is they'll go around to antique shops and they'll buy a few things that are antiques, because then technically they can say it's antique, and then they'll buy, you know, newer stuff that fits the aesthetic they're going for because it's cheaper. And usually the antiques they buy are pretty cheap stuff, like a little chest or something. You know, they'll go to some little thrift store or antique shop or Goodwill even and buy that stuff. And they'll turn around and buy, you know, a wood dagger for me, and, you know, some kind of creepy looking cross or something, and some cloudy looking bottles from Hobby Lobby or something like that, and then they'll assemble it all together and they sell it as a antique vampire hunter kit and try to charge you $3,000 for it. It's ridiculous. Probably cost them less than $100 to put it together. If you're just joining us, this is the Warrior Wood and Props Sunday Finishing Work Live. If you got any questions about what I'm doing, or about the shop, or custom orders, or anything like that, or if you have any questions about mythology, I also talk about mythology because I'm a mythology expert and write books on mythology for Penguin Random House. So if you got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. While I do this, it helps me be less bored. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just talking to the air. Not that I have issues talking to the air. I do that quite a bit, actually. This stain is not quite completely cured, I just realized. That's okay. My fingertips can be brown for a few days, I guess. Almost there. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's good. But for these, I try to use the natural jute cord, the natural color jute cord, I should say. Because I just think it looks better with this. Since I am kind of going for the antique look for these, I sell these as replicas, by the way, not as antiques. There's a big difference between a replica and an antique. But I say replica, but to be honest, I'm the only person who makes this style of steak. There are no other shops out there that are making these. So I know because I've looked. I've looked all over the place. I can't find a single shop that makes these. Not in this design anyway. But I kind of like it with the natural jute cord on the handle. It gives it kind of an older look. All right, so that's one down, 2 to go. You guys got any questions while I do this? Drop them in the chat for me. Give me something to talk about. Or you can just sit there and watch a chubby middle-aged guy hand wrap vampire steaks, either one. Oh, I need some coffee. I don't know why though it's decaf, because I have blood pressure issues. So doc said I had to switch to decaf. Life sucks as you get older. I miss real coffee. But I also like being alive. So, you know, what are you going to do? There we go. Good. I think it's funny because like Halloween, I've noticed is starting to do kind of what Christmas has been doing for the last 40 years or so. It seems like every year people start celebrating Halloween earlier, and when I go to the hardware store, I start seeing the Halloween stuff displayed way earlier, which I always think is funny. Like Lowe's and Home Depot, they always have a ton of Halloween stuff, like for the yard and stuff, which is awesome. Like normally you don't see it until like September, but this year I started seeing it like, I mean, it's already in there. It's the, 15 foot high skeletons and all that stuff, which is awesome. I just wish I feel like my issue with it is that like before Halloween's even over, you start seeing Christmas stuff in the stores. And like, I would really appreciate it if Santa would stop sticking his ass into my Halloween, because you know what, stay in your lane, Santa. You know, your time's coming. You already get like all of November and December like for that stuff. Like no, leave October alone. That's spooky season. Santa needs to stop poking his ass in the spooky season. Oh my goodness. Very tedious work. So if you haven't figured it out already, I have rampant ADHD. I'm pretty sure that's obvious, but which is why the Sunday finishing work lives are so important to me, because the work of cord wrapping and stuff, it's just very tedious, and it's hard to stay motivated to do it. But I know that I'm supposed to go live at a certain time. It helps me get out of bed on Sundays to do this. Don't get me wrong, I love doing it. I love this shop. I love the shop so much. I'm hoping by the end of this year it'll be paying for itself again. I know the economy kind of sucks right now, but last year we were doing great. The shop was paying for itself. I moved into a bigger space. We were doing awesome, and then Etsy got a bug up their ass about what they consider to be a baton and what they don't consider to be a baton. And a bunch of shops like mine got booted off of Etsy because we sold sticks. Apparently, they consider anything from 18 to 36 inches a baton. Most most people consider anything from like 18 to 20 or 12, even 12 to 24 inches of baton. Anything over 24 inches, that's a stick. That's not a baton. So any of the shops, which there were a bunch of us that sold Eskrima sticks, got hit with weapons violations, and they count every listing as a weapons violation. And so they rapid fired me with multiple violations overnight while I was sleeping. Woke up the next morning and my shop had been shut down. Right in the middle of the holidays too. Like, it was like 2 weeks from Christmas. They shut me down last year. It really sucks because that's like peak Christmas season, and they shut down a bunch of shops that do like props and martial arts stuff. They even shut down one shop. All they make are props because they were selling some 3D printed like Nightwing Eskrima sticks. Like they aren't even they were plastic. They weren't even like battle ready. And poor guy got his shop shut down because they said he was selling batons. And they have an appeals process that is an absolute joke over at Etsy. Etsy just they treat their sellers like garbage. eBay's a little better on how they treat you, but man, they take a lot as far as like fees and stuff. They really if you're running a full-time shop, so I have to charge more, unfortunately, on Etsy, on eBay than I do on Etsy, but not for right now. For right now, my prices are still low because I'm trying to build a customer base on eBay. It took me like 2 years to build one on Etsy. So, but I'm hoping, usually my first year on Etsy, it was the Halloween and Christmas season that really helped my shop because I got a lot of customers through that. Because I'm a horrible photographer. I will just say that now. By the way, thanks for the likes, whoever sent me likes. I'm a terrible photographer, so like a lot of my listings, like they don't look great on camera. They just don't. And so they don't look great on camera, but in person they look awesome. Well, they look good on camera, just not when I take pictures. I'm a shitty photographer. So, but when people get them, they're usually pretty shocked at the quality level of what they got for the price. I usually get a lot of return customers. That's a lot of people come back to my shop after they've bought something. So one spooky season, one holiday season, and hopefully we'll be back on track. I hope, because if we're not back on track by like this time next year, I'll probably have to shut the shop down, which I don't want to do. I love this shop, but I need it to at least pay for itself. I'm not looking to make money on it. I just need it to not cost me money. That's pretty much my goal with this shop. And maybe in like 5 or 6 years, it would be nice to be able to do this full time. Definitely once I retire, I'll be doing this. Pretty much that's all I'll be doing is working in the shop and writing books. I'll never retire, but I'm like I said, ADD, so sitting around and doing nothing for the rest of my life, definitely not in the cards for me. This is my last piece of this Sunday Finishing Work Live. So if you've got questions you want me to answer, please drop those in the chat because I'm getting close to being done. This has been a very short Sunday Live. I usually it takes about an hour and 45 minutes for me to get through these, or up to 2 hours. However, this week is my first week back at the shop, so I usually do about 16 projects a weekend. This weekend I only did, I think, 10 or 11. So yeah, I try to take it easy. I know that 10 or 11 projects in a weekend probably doesn't sound like easy, like I took it easy, but it is. For me, it is. Normally I do like 16, sometimes even 20 projects, depending on how difficult they are. in one weekend. So I get the bulk of my work done on the weekends. Usually during the week, I work my day job in the office down the hall here in the shop, but I can jump over here if I'm painting something like this coming week. I need to make another set of Electra Sai, so I'm going to be painting the rubber Sai with primer so I can get them painted up. I'll probably make probably 2 sets of Electra Sai and 1 set of Raphael Sai. I already have a set of Raphael prop Sai on the shop. They're just rubber. They're rubber Sai that are painted and wrapped. The handles are wrapped to look like movie replicas. The Electra Sai are not movie replica. They're more comic book replica. Like, I don't do the intricate, like, carvings in the Sai, is because it's rubber. It would be really difficult to get that. But if you're looking for a pair of like con-safe Sai that you can take to a convention and not get in trouble with security, my Sai are awesome, because on camera they look real, but they are rubber and they are 100% safe. So like, you would really have to be trying to hurt somebody with these. So, but I sold out of the Electra Sai right before I left for Texas. So, time to make more. All right. And there we go. Trim this bad boy off. Next week, though, we'll get back to... oh, yeah, the other reason I'm not doing a whole lot is it's actually my birthday tomorrow. So, my significant other and everybody, they have birthday plans for me today. So I didn't want to spend too long on the live this morning, because they were planning on surprising me with birthday stuff. I don't know what they're surprising me with. I just know I guess it's kind of like a half surprise. So I gotta get home and do the birthday stuff, and then and tomorrow I'm taking the day off work because I got some more birthday stuff coming, and also I'm gonna spend the afternoon, I think, playing Helldivers 2, because I'm addicted to Helldivers 2, and I have not had a whole day to game in a while, so I figured use my birthdays to take a day off from work and play some video games. All right, well, folks, that is about it for me today. I'm gonna take this stuff and put it in the inventory room, and then I take some of it home to take pictures of and list it on the shop. I'll probably list it on the shop Monday. I probably won't do it today because they're birthday celebration stuff. So, but anyway, these are already on the shop. It's not hard to find. There are actually 1 or 2 of these style also on the shop already. So they're not like, if you want to buy them, they're already up there. Feel free to go and do that. But anyway, this is, I guess, the end of my Helldiver. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's right. Ooh. But yeah, so that's probably going to be the end of my Sunday Live this week. You can find my shop, as I said, Warrior Wood and Props. It's on eBay. WarriorWoodandProps.com, the main shop. You can go there. But however, right now I'm having some issues with Shopify, so there's nothing for sale on there. But you can use the contact me button still to contact me via email on the website if you're interested in a custom order. We'll get that worked out. You can also contact me on eBay for custom orders. Anyway, thanks everybody. I'm out of here. Have a great Sunday.